and fellow panelists, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum and Selamat Tengah Hari. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for your kind introduction. Congratulations to ISI. You have successfully organized and hosted this memorable event. Your ability to bring people together and create something special for anti-corruption fight is something to be applauded. Congratulations again. Within the topic of preventing the misuse of laws to evade accountability, next. I wish to focus on these two important issues personally selected by me, and they are holding legal professionals accountable and leveraging legal education. As you can see the photo, there is many ways to misuse of law, and many ways also the solution of this problem. I believe that by focusing on these two issues, we may be able to contribute to a legal profession that is not only ethically sound, but also fully dedicated to justice and accountability, thereby preserving the integrity of our legal system. Thus, active engagement and collaborative effort through dialogues, seminar, and conference among professionals, educational institutions, and regulatory bodies, we will be able to resolve these conflicting issues. Next. The strengthening ethics rules segment underscores the vital role of enforcing stringent ethical standards to ensure accountability within the legal profession. The focus is not only having ethics rules, but also rigorously enforcing them to prevent and address misconduct effectively, thereby upholding the integrity of legal profession. Strengthening ethics rule is significant to hold legal professionals accountable for their action. Whistleblower protection is vital to motivate legal professionals to report misconduct within the legal profession. It begins by emphasizing the importance of protecting whistleblowers from retaliation, as this protection is crucial for maintaining the integrity and accountability of the legal profession. The legal and ethical obligation to report misconduct and the challenges that whistleblowers often face, including career and personal safety concerns. It highlights existing whistleblower protection laws and the role of legal professional organizations in implementing whistleblower protection policies. By providing this protection incentive, the legal community can better encourage accountability and maintain the integrity of the profession. Next. Independent oversight is essential for holding legal professionals accountable by establishing bodies to investigate legal misconduct. These bodies serve as a crucial check and balance system within the legal profession, ensuring fair and impartial investigations. The independence and impartiality of these bodies are vital to prevent conflict of interest. Various types of oversight bodies, such as legal ethics committee and disciplinary boards, play different roles in investigating misconduct. They follow a comprehensive investigative process, applying sanctions and penalties when necessary, and emphasize transparency and accountability in their findings. Overall, these oversight bodies serve as a deterrent, fostering a culture of ethical behavior among the legal professionals. Reporting mechanisms is a pivotal aspect of holding legal professionals accountable through the creation of clear standards for reporting unethical behavior. This involves establishing well-defined, user-friendly procedure, accessible reporting channels, and protective measures for reporting parties. feedback to reporting parties, collaboration with independent oversight bodies, and the maintenance of deter records are all essential components. Continuous improvement and periodic reviews of reporting mechanism ensure their ongoing effectiveness, ultimately upholding the integrity of the legal profession and fostering trust in the legal system. Next. Ethics and integrity courses are to be part and parcel of the legal curricula, essential to promoting ethics and accountability within the legal profession. These courses should be incorporated as core components of legal education, introducing students to various ethical frameworks and practical scenarios. Case studies, debates, and guest lecturers provide real-world insight, while moot court exercises simulate ethical decision-making. Making ethics and integrity as part and parcel of the legal education ensures that future legal professionals are well prepared to uphold high ethical standards and contribute to accountability within the profession. Experiential learning through case studies is a crucial component of legal education. For Malaysia, especially one MDB case, reinforcing ethical principle. This approach allows students to practically apply ethical concepts in real and simulated scenarios, preparing them for real-world ethical dilemmas. Diverse case studies covering a wide range of situations reflect the complexity of ethical challenges lawyers face. Experiential learning contributes to ongoing ethical development and continuous improvement in ethical decision-making throughout student legal careers, ensuring they are well equipped to navigate complex ethical challenges. Next. Pro bono works is a potent tool for promoting community engagement and pro bono services within legal education. It underscores the social responsibility of legal professionals to provide assistance to underserved communities, aligning with the ethical duty of lawyers to ensure access to justice. This diverse range of legal issues exposes students to ethical challenges, such as limited resources and conflict of interest. Reflecting exercises and debriefing enhance ethical development, instilling a sense of social justice and responsibility. Pro bono work nurtures a career-long commitment to pro bono service, contributing to ethical engagement and community services. In conclusion, I have 3 points of conclusion here. Preventing the misuse of law is paramount for justice and accountability. It upholds the rule of law, maintaining public trust in the legal system, ensuring accountability for all individuals, regardless of their status or resources, is vital. This approach, where the law is applied impartially, is very important. In essence, it's not only about legal ethics, but also about creating a just and equitable society, where the legal system is a guardian of rights and a promoter of ethical behavior, ensuring that everyone is held accountable for their action. Secondly, it underscores the call to action for addressing the misuse of laws within the legal profession. Next. Collaboration across sectors, legal reforms, and educational efforts are highlighted as key steps. Strengthening oversight mechanism, promoting ethical culture, and continuing ethics education are essential. The empowerment of the public is essential to act as a check on misconduct. In sum, it calls for a collective effort to create a legal environment that upholds ethical standards, ensures justice, and maintains trust in the legal system. Finally, next. We would like to express gratitude for the collective commitment to justice and accountability. Next. It emphasizes the importance of building trust and unity in society and empowers individuals and communities to demand accountability from the legal professional. This conclusion stresses the continuous improvement required for building a more just and accountable society and conveys appreciation for everyone's dedication to this cause. It serves as a call for collective action and responsibility to create a fair and equitable world where justice is accessible to all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jais, for your presentation. So moving forward, we would like to allow Dr. Chanroeun to have the next presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Are you still awake? I think it's really hard, right, to focus on the presentation after lunch. But please stay with us. First of all, thank you, Mr. Moderator, for a very kind introduction, and ISI for giving me an opportunity to join this conference. I thought it was just a ordinary academic conference, but I'm very delighted and surprised to meet many professional experts in this meeting. I would like to frame my intervention not as a presentation, because previous panelists have done a very great job in bringing very comprehensive remark from their own expertise. I would like to know how many of you in this room been to Cambodia? Anyone been to Cambodia? 1, 2, okay, 2, 3, 4, a few, okay. So I'm aware that I am the only Cambodian in this conference. So I'm very confident to tell you a story rather than give you a presentation. Next slide, please. So this is a picture of Angkor Wat, one of the 7 wonders, one of the UNESCO World Heritage. In Indonesia, you have Borobudur. In Cambodia, we have more than 1,000 ancient temples, and Angkor Wat is one of the ancient monument. The picture shows the rising sun on the peak of Angkor Wat. So if you plan to visit Cambodia, please do it in 2 special locations. This phenomena happen only twice a year. So it happened on the 21st of March and on the 23rd of September. When day and night have equivalence, or in English, I just checked Google this morning. It's called equinox. Right. So I'm not going to take you touring Angkor Wat visually, but the reason of showing you this photo is to tell you that in point of history, in every society, in every country, we have clean government, we have clean leader, compassionate leader, but we also sometimes have corrupted leader and corrupted system. So the first picture is the evidence of a clean and compassionate leader or regime. To my claim, I claim that if the process of building Angkor Wat was involved corruption, perhaps this building would not last 100 years until now. But I have the second story. Next, please. Which is a Cambodian folktale. I'm not sure if Indonesia or other countries have similar story, similar folktale about the story of the origin of the tiger. In Cambodian folktale, the origin of the tiger is one of the famous one that we use. I use it in my class teaching civic education. I am a a grassroots advocate, a democracy and human rights advocate and educator. So I use this story to show my students, especially some young Cambodian. We often organize youth camp focus on democratic governance, including introducing the concept of transparency and anti-corruption. So we use this story as one of the topic to tell how power and law has been misused, or the origin of corruption. So the story begins with a kingdom where there's a good king with a beautiful and smart wife. The king also have 4 powerful ministers. The king have also a good fortune teller. However, neither the king nor the minister have knowledge in magic, because in the ancient time, magic, the knowledge of magic and martial art are necessary to defend a kingdom. So the king and his group got concerned that the kingdom would be in danger if there any invasion from the neighboring kingdom. So they discussed and they decided to take a trip to look for a good guru, a good teacher, to learn magic and martial art, warfare. So they left the palace and traveled for some time, and they finally have found a more powerful teacher. So they spent some time to learn all the magic and fighting skill from the master, and then they decided to return to the kingdom. So after traveling for a few days, they got lost in a huge jungle, and they also running out of food. The king thought that it's not a good choice to continue the trip in that way. So they discussed among themselves, and the fortune teller suggests that they should use the magic skill that they learned from the master to transform themselves into a powerful animal, so that they can catch other animal and eat, and then they can transform to be into human one day arrive their kingdom. So all of them agree. The queen decided to become the body of the tiger, the minister to become the foreleg, the astrologer become the tail of the tiger, so they call the animal tiger, and the king left only one part of the body of the animal, which is the most powerful part, is the head. So after reciting their magic spell, they become a powerful animal, which they call it tiger. So after becoming a tiger, they start running around, catching animal and eat. The animal really enjoy, the tiger really enjoy the new life, and then he forgot to transform into human being, and they continue their life after that. So next, please. So the story, the first part of the story is just the idea to give the origin, the tale of the origin of the tiger, but it also remind people that we need to work together in order to achieve common good. This morning, one of our panelists mentioned that the criminal, they work very effectively together, and we, the fighter for a clean, for a good society, need also to work together. This wisdom story also warn people not to forget their role and their responsibility in their pursuit for the common good. It also taught us that power tends to corrupt when people seek for more personal pleasure, wealth, or happiness. So it's in line with what Lord Acton reminded us, that power tends to corrupt and absolute power corrupt absolutely. So from this story, it showed me that these previous two sections mention a lot about the root cause of corruption from legal perspective, from government perspective. But to me, as a grassroots advocate and practitioner, I think corruption is a human problem. So if we look at some associated factor related to corruption, next please. Some research show that there are three main associated factors of corruption or the misuse of law, include the individual factors, institutional, and the societal factors. Next. The individual factors include the personal gain, like what the story tells us, the story of the original tigers tell us. The power and control, people who desire for power and control. The lack of understanding, people who lack understanding of law can also become the victim of law abuse, law violation. Cultural norm and belief in the society. As for the institutional factors, it includes the weak institution. Usually, the society that controlled by strong men often end up with weak institution. So there is no way to avoid the misuse of law when the institution is weak. The lack of understanding the institutional conflict of interest. This morning, one of our panelists mentioned about the consequence of conflict of interest. We not only talk about the personal conflict of interest, but the institutional conflict of interest as well, where the institution play a different role in tending toward one group or other institution. For example, in some country, the Ministry of Interior become an authority to stamp for the legal registration of a political party. The lack of resources in law enforcement, in anti-corruption education is also one of the associated factors contributing to the misuse of law. Next. And last but not least, the inequality and the marginalization. When the society is the inequality, the huge gap between the powerful and the powerless, there is also a case where the misuse of law occur. The lack of trust in institution. Sometimes people, they go their own way when they don't trust the legal system or they don't trust the institution. When people don't trust the police, they will use their own means to find justice. The normalization of corruption and the socio-economic factor like poverty, unemployment also the contributor to the misuse of law. Here are some strategy. I think I don't need to highlight some of this point because our panelists, most of our panelists already too small, right? Most of our panelists have talked a lot on some of this. I'm quite delighted to see that we look at things and we think similar. We look at the root cause and this, explore, come up with some strategy in a similar manners. I hope we can also work together at some point in order to promote transparency, accountability in the region. One thing that I would like to highlight here is the importance of civic education, which include anti-corruption education in the curricula. In Southeast Asia, I think besides Singapore, including Cambodia, have very low level of civic education. So we talk a lot about how to fight, how to eradicate corruption in our society, but most of the time we only touch on the surface. We fail to invest in building foundation for a clean, cultivating integrity in our society. This morning I learned from our colleague from Malaysia that in Japan they invest a lot in civic education, moral education, right? So, but in our region, if I'm not wrong, the investment in this area is still quite limited. Therefore, I think for the long-term fight against corruption, civic education is a remedy to fix the social cancer of corruption. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Chanroeun. And to our third presentation, Mr. Eduardo.
Good afternoon. Let me skip with some our pleasantries and let me go direct to my presentation because I'll finish around 6 o'clock. Is that okay? I'm just joking. Now, next slide, please. Yeah. There are 3 ways to approach a problem like corruption. First is to ignore it. Second is to find a cure or a solution. The third is to prevent it from happening at the outset. I chose the topic preventing misuse of laws to avoid accountability because as a Christian happens to be a lawyer, for almost 30 years I've been exposed to various legal maneuvers to avoid liability and accountability. As the saying goes, prevention is better than cure. Prevention is most effective when you can anticipate it. To prevent the misuse of laws, to avoid accountability requires the knowledge of the law and with experience be able to anticipate the possible factual scenarios. Next slide, please. In the Philippines, our Philippine experience, the corrupt usually also performs acts like preventively, that is to prevent filing of a case against him from the outset, or curative, which is the lawyer finds from the information or a complaint against his client who is official, whether it is the defenses that we may be able to put up. And this is also maybe procedural or factual or legal, and then in the latter, or both. In the latter case, in the legal, it might be substantive or procedural, also both. Just to be clear, saying that it takes one to know one does not apply here. Like the mathematicians who were able to configure, find out, and decipher the enigma. Do you know the enigma? Yeah. And Tommy. In World War II, this was the code used by the machine used by the Germans, to be able to send the messages, encrypted messages. And they were able, the Allied forces were able to find out and decipher these encryptions, and that's how they were able to win the war. No? So next slide, please. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, in our Constitution, an entire article is dedicated to the accountability of public officers. It says, public officers, public trust, public officers and employees must at all times be accountable to the people, serve them with utmost responsibility, integrity, loyalty, and efficiency, act with patriotism and justice, and lead modest lives. Next slide, please. Now, the impeachable officials. The impeachable officials are limited to President, Vice President, members of the Supreme Court, members of the Constitutional Body, and the Ombudsman. Now, there's a process in this regard, and one of also the basis for impeachment is corruption. But the problem here is that in the process, the Congress acts as the prosecutor, and the Senate acts as a sole judge for impeachment. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. We'll talk about the pork barrel. And the pork barrel, as I see, probably so, maybe. Well, it is unconstitutional because the money comes that is used, you have to have a law, the General Appropriations Act, to be able to use the money of public money. But what happens is that the Congress would enact a law, and then even after the law is enacted, they still have something to do with its implementation. That's why the corruption comes in. No? Next slide, please. And we had it defended, and it was declared unconstitutional. Next slide, please. This is very important. Disbursement Acceleration Program. This is the reverse of the pork barrel system. In this case, it is the executive who gathers all the funds from the various agencies and then turns it to and then gives it back to Congress and allows it to the Congress to use to dedicate it for whatever project he wants to do. Next slide, please. And next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide, please. Now, let me just tell the story now. What happened was that the impeachment of then Supreme Court Chief Justice Corona was more on political rather than justice. What happened was that they used the money, they used as an alibi, the disbursement acceleration program was used to give to the Congress so that the Chief Justice will be impeached and thereafter given to the Senate so that he will be convicted. So the last straw was sometime in November 22, 2011, when the Supreme Court decided against the then President interest, when the Hacienda Luisita was decided against the interest of the family of the former President. And then after that, the day after, 74 congressmen received 10 million pesos each. And about 1.5 billion pesos was given to the congressman before the impeachment, and then after that, around a total of 17 billion were released for the president, for the Supreme Court Chief Justice to be declared, to be impeached and also to be convicted. But upon review, only 15 billion has been accounted for. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, next slide. Next slide, please. Just discuss with you. Next slide, please. Okay. As Executive Director of Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission during the time of President Duterte, our strategy was evolutionary. Why? Because our jurisdiction is limited only to high-profile and big-time public officials. But complaints keep on coming, so we need to address them. In this case, how do we evolve? We have the power to seek the assistance of law enforcers. So in this case, this is smuggling of about billions of pesos worth of jewelry through the years. What happened that we were able to catch the smugglers, and it involves an official. And after that, what is more important is that these officials are being protected also by higher officials, and that is where our justice came in. Next slide, please. So an assistant secretary was sacked. Also, prosecutors were sacked because they were. Now we are also dating, no? Because in this case, the pictures on the left side would be the entrapment of BIR officials. And in the middle, you see a person taking out before me at my residence. That's the military. This is where when the several court martials were made. No? And we had a pronouncement of 4 secretaries being investigated by PACC, and also the filing of cases against the former president and former secretary of DBM. Next slide, please. We also vet. And next slide, please. What is more important is the blitzkrieg approach. So again, after 100% rating from the president of our report, then I as Executive Director of PACC and the Executive Director of AMLAC, entered into a MOA, and thereafter we met with all the agencies, no? So that the chairman would be meeting one-on-one with the head of the agency and gives them the complaint, and then with that complaint, we will have a meeting, and then after that meeting, I'll be introduced the point person, and we will ask for a point person for the department. After all the meetings have been done, what we did, I asked the commission to give me the authority so that I will be deploying meeting with these point persons from various agencies, and that my job is replicated, no, by these point persons, and we were able to almost zero backlog because I transferred already, no? So I was able to finish it. Next slide, please. And then it happens again. No? So EDVB, no? That's my initials. No? My name is Eduardo Doy Valera Bringas, and we evolve, we dare, we vet, and then blitzkrieg. And then what happened next? No? Then we evolve again. No? Now we talk about international cooperation. Here we went to China, and the Chinese government asked us for a favor if we can help them arrest a fugitive, a corrupt official, and 2 actually. One involving 11 billion pesos, and the other. And after a month, with the same process. No? After a month, they caught, and then Mr. Lee Shu Li, who is the head of the CCDR at the time, went to Philippines. No? The picture of a meeting with Lai Yifan of China. Next slide, please. Next slide. And then we were able to have a MOU with China. Next slide, please. Now, ARTA, where I work after PCC, is the Anti-Red Tape Authority. It is created under the EODB, or Ease of Doing Business. Now, it has empowerment and enforcement function. Now, empowerment, you help the agencies to streamline their processes so that there will be no delay. No, because with delay, there will be corruption. Now, after that, we have also the enforcement function. I am in charge of the enforcement as DDG for legal, and one of the provisions is that the automatic approval of a pending complete application that has gone beyond the prescribed processing time. Now, here's something to think about. Next slide, please. Oh, can you come back one slide, please? Before. Yeah. The misuse of law. What if, for example, an agency, let's say an agency A, is highly politicized, and that agency decides to talk with another agency, and they gang up on ARTA, and then they create a situation in order to prevent that agency from being accountable for what they did. So, and then they go to the office of the ombudsman, and with the help of a public entity, they gang up, as I said, in ARTA. Now, what happens? Next slide, please. Under the rule of law, truth, and justice. The truth is what binds the rule of law and justice. But the bottom line is justice, as we all know. Unless we first solve the problem of justice, no amount of economic reform, no amount of no charismatic leader, no international treaty can bring peace and prosperity to our society. Next slide, please. Now, this is the last one. Rock and roll is the solution. You see, in the preamble of our Constitution, it says, we, the Filipino people, implore the aid of Almighty God in order to build a just and humane society, so on and so forth, under the rule of law and a regime of truth, justice, freedom, love, equality, and peace. Now, for us Christians, when we say truth, justice, freedom, love, equality, and peace, those are the traits of Christ. That's why the regime of Christ and the rule of law, or rock and roll. So that's, if the main problem of corruption is the problem of the heart. And the heart of the problem is actually the problem of the heart. So it all boils down to what is deep within each and every person. In the Philippines, it boils down to everyone. Everyone must be involved. And with that, as I said, in education, we educate them. And now doing this as my advocacy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Eduardo.
It took so long.
It's okay. Okay, so because we have very limited time, in this session, I would like to give more opportunities for the floor to address questions. You may raise your hand and we will approach you with the microphone. So we are very fortunate that we have presenters from Cambodia, from Malaysia, and also from Philippines in this session. Anyone? Okay, while waiting for the floor, maybe I would like to ask from Bapak Jais and also Dr. Chanroeun about maybe you can give some common or specific examples of laws or legal mechanism that have been misused to evade accountability in the corruption cases here. Maybe you can give some references from Malaysia first.
In Malaysia, the latest law which established a year ago, the anti-hopping law, is being misused. All the politicians, they try to find loopholes in that law, how to hop from another party to another party. I've wrote one long article last week for the local newspaper explaining about the dangers of this misuse of law. And there is 3 main elements which should be improved to make sure there is no loophole for the political person, especially the parliamentary members, to hopping parties. Previously, Malaysia have very rare look into this problem. But since the general election 2017, 39 parliamentary members had hop party. And we have changed 3 prime ministers just because of party hopping. And we are afraid this is going to bring a bad image to Malaysia. So with the recommendation, I think the problem will be amended soon. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Pak Chais. Maybe from Dr. Chanroeun?
Yeah, in Cambodia we have a law called National Internet Gateway. It's a piece of legislation that was introduced recently. Some organizations, human rights advocates, call it the Chinese firewall, Chinese Great Wall law. In Cambodia, there's a group of NGO called Digital Rights Working Group. So we are working to advocate for internet internet freedom and digital rights. So we've been working and advocating with different stakeholders, including organized meetings, dialogue with the government agency. We provide recommendation. We also involve experts to provide technical input on the loophole and the risk of that piece of legislation, the National Internet Gateway. Luckily, our voice was heard, and the law have been postponed until now. Yeah, so it shows that when we work together, we advocate with evidence. I think there is room for there's a room for dialogue. There is a possibility for change. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chanroeun. So I would like to ask and invite the floor again for any questions. Okay, we have one from the front row.
I impressed the information about the whistleblower that the president of the Malaysia watched. That's right. that right?
Malaysia Corruption Watch.
Yes, it is. I would like to know that have you the law on the whistleblower protection, and how you make in the power of the people to become the whistleblower for the corruption case, that and it's a progress or success in Malaysia or not about the whistleblower system. Thank you.
Welcome, Professor. Mr. Chairman, can I answer that question? Yeah. In Malaysia, we have two main laws on whistleblowing. These two laws is good, and public use this law to whistleblow their problem. But there is a small hiccup, regarding when they whistleblow and people know who do the whistleblowing. That is the main problem. The integrity of the enforcement agency or internal integrity unit is in a big question mark. Now we are trying to improve that. With regard to anti-hopping law, we persuade the government, we push the government to give the opportunity to public to bring the parliamentary members to the court and charge them for anti-hopping. That is our suggestion. Then only the parliamentary members will be very careful, because not the legal system bring them, but the people bring them to the court and charge them. That is what happened in Malaysia. Thank you very much, sir.
Same of earlier. Okay, thank you, Prof, for the question. And maybe one last question. We still have time, right? Okay. Checking with the committee first there. Okay.
Okay, thank you for the change. As a representative of the Asian organizations, I'm the voice of young generation. So, my question is, what's your opinions on the prevailing belief in society that stricter and more severe punishment for corruption lead to decrease in corruption rates? Does the government believe that current penalties for corruption are already at their maximums to effectively deter such corruption activities? Thank you.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Does the government believe that the current penalties for corruption are already at their maximum to effectively deter such corruption activities? Is it clear?
Do I understand correctly? The way I understand it is that if the penalty for corruption will be at its maximum level, then it will be more effective. The laws will be more effective. Well, it all boils down to the implementation of the law. Because even if you have higher, even if it's by death sentence, when the judiciary themselves are being corrupted, then it's not effective. As I said, the problem of corruption is the problem of the heart. And the heart of the problem is the real problem. The heart. Okay, that's it.
Okay, last one. You maybe Dr. Chanroeun or Pak Jais want to add something?
Yeah, you the last one. Maybe to conclude this session, I want to give a story about a small bird. This story maybe 1,000 years ago happened. A small bird who bring water inside his mouth to clear the fire. And all animals said to the bird, What can you do with a small water? You cannot clean the fire. But the bird said that at least I have the initiative to do that. So we, in this room, I believe, we are the group who have the willingness, political will especially, to clean the corruption and become a better nation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for this rock and roll session. Okay, so thank you to our three panelists for the third session, which is preventing the misuse of laws.